Hi, Kim. Take
Hello,
two.
hello. Take two, why is that?
Take two because we just recorded it without recording.
Nah, just jokes, just jokes. Welcome, everyone. The dilemma of my amazing intro last recording that was not recorded will need to be repeated here. So I need to outdo myself, which means that I'm going to tag team and go, Kath, you do the intro. What's the show?
No. This is your job, mate. You do it.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 10 of the show. We appreciate you tuning in. We're so happy to have you here. The show is a learning design competition where people take on a brief and they submit their proposal and say, this is why my submission is going to meet your brief, Mr. and Mrs. Client, and peers in the industry vote on their favorite learning designs. Now, it is running in conjunction with the learning conference.online. Check it out on the website. Tickets are on sale. If you've been paying attention and binge watching the episodes, like many of you are telling us that you are, and we appreciate and thank you for tuning into all the episodes, you can see that we put a lot of emphasis on visual design, graphic design, look and feel of the solutions. And that is because first impressions are really important. And they really take your design solutions to the next level, because client stakeholders don't necessarily understand the instructional design or the learning design stuff, but they do appreciate good design. So you need to get through that gateway, and then they'll start to appreciate your learning design solution. So let me introduce you to a notorious person who is awesome at visual design for e-learning specifically. His name is Tim Slade. Tim Slade is going to be presenting at the learning conference on visual design. The session is about good use of visual, graphic, and user interface design to elevate your ID creations and create learning experiences that are just freaking awesome. So we're very excited about that session. So you can check it out and see what other awesome sessions are happening where you get to showcase ideas, or you see showcases of ideas from start to finish. You get to create things and go back to your boss and be like, look what I created. Can we please do this in our organization? And yeah, that's pretty epic. Let's get into the show, Kath.
My goodness, people. That was 2 minutes. That wasn't too bad.
2 minutes.
Let's do it. Okay.
In today's episode of the show, we have special guest Leonard. We should have asked, could we call you Lenny? Woo! He's got his own sound effects, people, and the crowd goes wild. It sounds chaotic behind the scenes, but here we go. He's a senior instructional designer in the academic world of university at Cass Business School. Leonard, you working on anything cool at the moment?
Working on an MBA. An online MBA with some amazing people. So I'm working with some really great academics, and helping a little bit behind the scenes with what people are calling emergency design. Helping academics to get online that have never done so before.
Yeah,
we're pretty lucky at CAST because we have a lot of academics who have, and we have run some successful distance programs. So we're not starting completely from scratch, but it's still a totally crazy time, as you might imagine. But yeah.
Well, things are pretty crazy on the show, so I hope you've got yourself strapped in, ready.
Okay. I'll put my crazy hat on.
All right, let's take you through the brief, Leonard. Thank you for joining us. We're super stoked to have you recommended to be a guest on the show, and looking forward to the perspectives that you share. So let me take you through the brief.
I too am stoked.
Yeah, stoked, man. All right, this young fella here is David. David is the CEO, and he runs the not-for-profit. He's got a budget of $5,000, or that's probably like £2,500. So just to put it into perspective, because Leonard's in the UK, He's looking for a solution to help focus on the health and well-being of team members. He wants to put his people first because he believes employee experience leads to a better customer experience. He doesn't have an LMS and he does not want anything like that. He wants a solution that can be handed over and implemented straight away. His staff are aged between 18 to 57, and he hasn't specified any specific tech. Now, the criteria, Leonard, and viewers at home, what we are looking for is, can the solution proposed be achieved within the budget based on your own experience? The look and feel. What are your first impressions? Is there a good use of color, typography, and fonts? And is it easy to navigate? And then we also want to look at it from a learning design perspective. So does it solve the client's problem? Is it meeting the needs of the business? Have they demonstrated that they understand the client's needs through the submission? So our intent with this is to solve a problem and understand your client and think outside the traditional learning solutions such as e-learning and face-to-face training. Kath, introduce us to the first competitor.
Alrighty. Our first competitor in this episode is Michael Morton. He's an instructional designer and e-learning developer, and he's currently working at Guide Dogs New South Wales. Now, we know Michael, he lives not far from me out there in Geelong. So let's see what Michael has submitted. Okay.
Alrighty. Michael is recommending a tool called Padlet, which allows for online collaboration. It has content such as text, images, links, docs, videos, voice, comments, likes, and ratings. He wants to consult to understand the current issues with staff well-being and existing policies. Nice thinking there. He wants to engage through polls, website recommendations. He's going to have a forum to encourage staff to share their challenges and solutions anonymously. And there's no sign up or LMS required, and it will be accessible on any device, and you can share the link via email or Slack or anything like that. Well. Kath, would you like to jump in and give us your reaction to Michael's solution?
Yeah, so I'd never heard of Padlet before, and I always love this when we get, new tools that someone's come across and they are thinking about it for a learning solution. So I'm just going to read a little blurb here. It says, Padlet, make beautiful boards, documents, and web pages that are easy to read, fun to contribute to. So you can kind of do these walls, shelves, canvases, streams, timelines, which I think this is, back channel, maps, and grids. So, I like these kind of tools that not only are easy for the company to curate content and put onto, but also for other people to share, because it seems to be one of the features here that other people can contribute to. So look, I like the user interface. It looks very nice. It's obvious that you can add a little bit of branding where it's maybe the background image, and you can put the logo up. So yeah, I like this kind of tool a lot. In my opinion, some of these things don't need to be tracked. It's more about having just-in-time information there. If someone has a need that they want to do a bit more research into mental health, or could be about managing your weight, they can jump on and they can have a look. So certainly I like the idea of the solution, and this is just clicking over to the next page. So nice UI. Yeah.
What do you reckon, Leonard?
Yeah, I like it. I like that that they're trying to, actually, one of the things I thought was most interesting was when you said that they were going to use anonymous features, because I think that obviously people don't always feel comfortable sharing, their issues, and so allowing people to do things anonymously could be really effective.
Yeah.
Obviously that that might also incur a sort of a cost that it would need to be monitored. If that, especially if that content was shared, say in a forum, because people could share something that could be offensive to other people, but it could also allow for the opportunity for some real candor as well, which I think is really could be really special. I mean, in a way, I don't know like all of the implications of something like that, but I think I like the intuition of doing that for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And he's mentioned that there's other options that it can work with. So even though that this has been such a high level brief, he's at least considering, okay, well, what I'm not forcing them down a certain route, but they may have something like Slack or Teams or Trello, or they may have something that they can, because it's a shareable link. So I like that he's been very smart in that sense, thinking about those things.
Yeah. I think there should be a second page there as well if you want.
This is the second page. So this was the first one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it came up on my screen.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Cheers. Yeah, we haven't seen that one yet. Cool. Yeah, so like thumbs up, we're seeing a lot of social media kind of aspects going in there. You can upload photos, attachments, so it's almost like user created content as well, which I think is cool if you wanted to think about, you see someone that has a challenge and then you're like, I had that challenge before. Here's something, a tool, a resource, an article that helped me, and you can attach it and let them know about that. So there's that kind of social sharing as well, which is quite a nice touch. So yeah, nice work, Michael.
Would be interesting to see if you could embed this actually. So I think that Padlet will be something that I'll certainly be looking into. Another little tool that's out there that we didn't know about. It's a good job, Michael.
Very true.
Now, our next participant is Roo, and Roo is an instructional designer, and she runs a business. She's the manager of Advisor, so I think it's her freelance business. Let's jump in and have a look at what Roo is suggesting.
All right. Well, Roo wants to use EdApp and Canva together, and she wants to create shareable custom microlearning. And also what she's actually said as part of her solution is, look, you guys are going to benefit from this, but why not share this with the other not-for-profits? Let's put it out there into the world. If we are trying to think about changing behavior and, focusing on mental health, let's share it with other organizations, because many people are having these challenges and it's a focus for workplaces. She has called this, and I think this plays to kind of the ego or the motivation of a CEO like this, where she's saying she wants to encourage David to democratize knowledge through this initiative. I think that could be very appealing to someone of that hierarchy. This EdApp is a free rapid authoring tool with its own LMS. And she's saying, let's not go crazy on the tech, but let's put the money instead into things like biometric screening, health coaching, fitness expenses for the employees. So really moving away from learning to more experience, which is quite cool. And then also having a focus on things like relaxation practices, perspective taking, really key part of mental health, emotional regulation, and other tips. And yeah, wants it to be interactive, which we can see from her little mock-up prototype here, where we've got like a kind of facts and stuff where she's saying this is a true or false, learn more. So she's trying to build knowledge and build awareness around kind of the stats that go with mental health and well-being to get people to care a bit more. So, Leonard, what are your thoughts?
I really like the emphasis on sharing and having it an openly shared tool. I think that obviously in so many things in L&D and in education in general, we can kind of tend to overemphasize our uniqueness, of our projects, and kind of imagine that like, oh, what we're doing is like totally, special. And both in terms of content and pedagogy. Like, so, you know, it's like, oh, well, I teach whatever, like I teach the design of sociological blah blah blah, and I need a totally unique pedagogy for that. It's like most of our stuff isn't that different, and so to kind of say like something like mental health, yeah, like you know, your mental health issues of employees in one company across to another company are probably not really going to be that hugely different. I mean, there might be differences, but you know, you can adjust for that.
Yes.
So I thought that was super cool. Actually, this is totally random, but like my son has been watching Bakugan. He's 9, and it's like, and Bakugan are just these Japanese toys, but like they have this whole thing where like the toys get their power from the core cell, and
Okay.
then this guy who's like helping the kids is like, I'm gonna make the core cell open source. And I was like, what? This is amazing. Like this kid's show is all about like basically copyright law, you know, and or like, you know, license law. Anyway, so I thought the emphasis on sharing is really good. A small design thing that I think is interesting is that the image on the right has the fill in the blank, or as I understand is the term in Australia, close questions, which
Ooh.
apparently like nobody uses but Australians.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I work
Big
with an
deal
Australian
here.
dev. He's like, they're called closed questions, and like the UK, well, by nobody, I mean like I didn't. Nobody in the UK uses them, and then nobody in the US uses them. They just call them fill in the blank questions.
So you're saying
But
we're pioneers. That's what I'm taking it from this.
yeah, well, I call them closed questions because I use Moodle, which is Australian, and so I know what that is. But anyway, it's centered. The text is centered, and you know, normally I would be kind of like, you know, like because I'm quite sort of have pretty modernist sensibilities in my design. However, Edward Tufte, who you may know, has argued recently that for the power of centered text, because they create unique shapes that create sort of like a special memory of that shape. It's like bears,
Wow.
in a sense, it bears like this little extra bit of information because it has this, you know, this unique shape. Anyway,
That's
uh,
cool.
I don't know what I think, but I thought like that was a kind of cool thing.
Yep.
And I also just like that it does have an activity, that it's not just multimedia, but there is an emphasis on active processing, because
Yep.
if you do have active processing, then people are gonna have deeper memories of the content.
Yep. Nice. I like that. New
Yeah.
knowledge we haven't had in the show before. Thank you, Leonard. Beat that,
Yeah.
Kat.
Yeah.
She's like, my audio is cut out. I don't have anything to contribute right now.
I do have something to contribute.
Go on.
Well, so I like that she's done mock-ups. So I like that Roo's done mock-ups, but I would have liked, because I've played around with EDAP this week, in which it's not a tool that I've used before. However, I know it just takes one click to put in a background image and to add the logo into this. And it would have really been nice to just show the client. So if I was the client and I received this, I might be a bit underwhelmed by the solution. I might go, oh, you know, is this all it looks like? And I know that it looks so much more. It looks so much. So I would have just suggested pop in a background image, pop in the logo, and at least the client's then starting to see, oh, this is branded for me, you know? So that would just be my feedback. But it was good to see some examples. I mean, you can honestly, there is, I think there's about 50 plus different templates that you can use in EDAP. So she could have shown a lot of things, especially talking about some of the topics that were in here. So anyway, that was my only feedback. It just could have been branded a little bit more. However, it was a good solution. So good job, Roo. We'll move on to our next submission, which is one that I think you're going to like. This is Shirleen, and she's an e-learning instructional designer at New South Wales Customer Service. You've got a lot of Aussies on this one, Leonard. All right.
I like Aussies, so Americans tend to like Aussies. I don't know why, but we have I think a really positive view of Australians.
Yeah,
probably because we don't really know very much about Australians, and we can just project any kind of fantasies we like.
Yeah,
I like that. Keep it that way.
especially like we were just talking about skateboarding before we recorded, and skateboarders like tend to think Australia is like the promised land. It's like, you know, it's the ultimate, you know. So and I'm gonna yeah, and I like all the Australians I know, so I'm just gonna keep believing that until I meet the Australians who are gonna, you know.
Well, you're primed now to like all these Australian submissions today.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I already like the poster. I mean, the other one was good too, but
it's because this one's got an Aussie flair. Well, let's have a look. So Shirleen has got she's themed it as circles of trust. That I love when people give something a theme or a name to go with it. So this is an interactive video, and it's going to address the key issues. So basically, users will have control to give advice to each persona and to get help when they need it as well. So it's really focusing on the emotional journey and building empathy with others. So I think I love, like, I'm all about human-centered design, so I love that empathy stuff, especially when it comes to health, well-being, mental health. This tool, she's saying, let's use a free version of Wireworks, and then also get the staff to be actors. I love that concept because I think when staff are involved, it gets people excited talking about it. They're your champions. It creates that chatter around the organization. Then everyone's like, oh my God, that's Mary from finance, you know? So that was a really bad accent. Anyway, the fee is basically going to be invested into filming and editing. And I would assume, she said here that she'll work with the SME for content, and then she's going to embed it into their webpage using iframes and share the link through email. Well, Leonard, what are you thinking? Circles of trust.
I really like it. I like that. First of all, I mean, kind of obvious, but I like that it's not just about yourself and self-care. It's but also it's about, by using personas, they're not just, you know, creating deeper learning by contextualizing the messages, but they're also showing that mental health isn't the same for everybody. You know, different people have different kinds of issues and different kinds of needs, and so it's trying to open people's minds about, you know, how to help people, which is which is great, and also probably, you know, a better, also like a good way to help yourself, because like if you can learn to identify it in other people and what they need, then you can be you can help yourself and also be less judgmental about yourself, like, you know, because a lot of people can feel a lot of, well, I don't know, a lot of, not everybody, again, because everybody's different, but, you know, people can feel a lot of shame about their mental health issues, and so people can have a more forgiving attitude, or not forgiving, they don't nothing to be forgiven, I mean, more
empathetic, I think is the word.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I really like that perspective. Kath, what are your thoughts?
I loved it. Okay. I love the visuals. So as someone who's part of the LGBT community, if I was a client and I received this, I would probably be quite excited about it, in the sense that She's thought a lot about the characters, the avatars, or the personas who are in this interactive video. She has, obviously, it looks very aesthetic. Wirewax is again another tool that I haven't seen before. I jumped on and I had a look, and it's got a basic and it's got a more advanced or a business edition. So that's something that I will need to do a little bit of research. But I like the idea of an interactive video, one that can be embedded into a website. And I'm sure that if the business had success with this one, that they could continue to use it. And the nice thing about personas is you can just keep building on these personas, keep using them again. So certainly the visuals just capture me. I really liked the look and feel of it. So yeah, if I was a client, things like that would win me over quite,
you can see
quite
that she's
easy,
put
because
effort into it.
Yeah. Especially with this being at the brief stage, because you know that, okay, this is someone who really understands the community, and I can work with this person to fine tune it to the point that I need it. So yeah, it was good. And
I'll just point out as well, sorry, Kath, that last screen there, like it is very scenario based, you know, like they're giving the skills, those choices are scripts. And I think that's quite key in terms of, it is just a multiple choice, but it's what are the behaviors we're trying to train, and that they're going to be scripts that you can actually help in the workplace, when what Leonard was saying, caring for others.
Absolutely. Well done, Shirleen. Great job.
One thing I would think could make it, I thought it was awesome, but like the one thing from a pedagogical perspective that I would like to see, and I can't tell if it's there or not, would be some kind of if you are going to have a scenario base, to have some sort of a pre-teaching element where you show people what to look for before they do the scenario. So it's not just like they're just kind of going spontaneously off their heads, like trying to judge what to do, but they have like the schema that they need to actually do the scenario.
That's interesting, because I'm the opposite.
I'm the opposite. So we're going to have a very deep end. Yeah. Do you know why I say that, Leonard? Because for things like this, I believe that a lot of this is a common, for this topic, we're not talking about other topics, but for this, a lot of it is a common sense and really critically thinking about that person and the scenario. And I like people to, I don't know, it's like I worked at the police for a long time, and I used to always say, you've got to trust that we don't have to tell people absolutely everything. We need to tell people where to go to get information, because they're never going to have someone next to them out in the real world to tell them what to do next. And at least this is a safe environment for them to critically think about this. And, you know, that's my thought on it. I mean, it's potential that they get the scenario here, and then it's got a Kate and Hannah scene in which this is contextualizing things a little bit more. And then this is an answer. But I'm the opposite than you, Leonard. I like throwing people right there in the deep end and getting them to think about it, and then giving their proper answer through the feedback.
Yeah. Something to controversial. Something
Chewie
to
says no.
Whether you preface the scenarios with learning, or you do the scenario first and put the learning in the feedback. And then for you guys out there, you might want to look at researching delayed and instant feedback as well.
But I would just I would point you to.
No, we got to move on, Leonard. Sorry, we don't have time.
John Sweller, he's Australian, so you have to respect your fellow countrymen. So,
I think we jumped in at the same time. No, come on, what were you going to say? Were you going to say something on that? Did you want to?
No. I mean, John Sweller, he's a cognitive science. He's like the guy who really inaugurated cognitive load theory.
Okay.
And he talks about what he calls the worked example effect, which is basically if you give someone a worked through example of like how to solve a problem,
yeah,
and then them solve the problem, they'll actually be more able to solve it in a more flexible way. So that's not really giving the theory first. It's giving like a.
It's like show then do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
I think they use that in like teaching classrooms quite a bit. Hey.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm holding things up by.
No, this is valuable. The people want to know.
This is valuable. We
What was the name of the Hillary fella?
John Sweller.
Oh, Sweller.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
Where'd you get Hillary from?
In certain kind of school milieus, he's like huge. He's like a really influential person. Actually, Dylan Wiliam, who's probably the most respected educational researcher in the UK, said the most, in like as far as I can tell, the most important theory that like any teacher should know is cognitive load theory. So yeah, John Sweller, yo.
Yeah. Google that shit, guys out there, guys and gals.
Did you just say the S word?
Shit. Yeah. Fucking Google it. Get on there. Oh God, is she cutting this off? No, move on. Viewership will be down. I'm only joking. I'm Irish. I don't have adverbs.
Following Shirleen is the amazing Emily Chorley, who is a senior instructional designer. Let's have a look at what Emily has submitted.
All right. Emily is suggesting an email drop. Bum, bum, bum. It's simple, it's fast, it's cost effective, and it uses hyperlinks. It will be bright and informative infographics, and it has a description of the topics in there, and the reader can explore the hyperlinks further if they are interested. The budget goes into the design, not the platform. What we're seeing on screen is a mock-up of her solution. We're going to have an opinion on the solution. Kath, I know you'll want to say something on this look and feel. Go for it.
Oh, I think it looks really, really pretty. And again, I like this kind of idea of drip feeding content.
Yes.
I don't, have any kind of issue with using MailChimp and ConvertKit and these other kind of tools. I think you've got a tracking within the back end in which you can tell who's opened it, who's used it. Yeah. You can even, through MailChimp and these tools, work out who's clicked on a link. So again, you've got some kind of mechanism of what's been useful to people. So look, aesthetically, it's very pretty. If this was something that I was to receive, whether it was once a week or, I'd certainly be drawn to it. I get, I'm sure you guys do, bombarded with newsletters from people who I haven't even signed up for. But anyway, bombarded with newsletters. And they look dull. And, if I got something like this, it would certainly catch my attention, like how she's focused on, the Zen in you, resting, nutrition, exercise, so she's really hitting the key things for health and well-being as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I like it.
Very nice. Leonard?
I think it's great. I like... as Kath said, I like that that you could do something that's bite-sized, that's actually coming to them. So it's in an email, and so there's a kind of a prompt to go, hey, mental health, pay attention. You can you can craft it so that it is going to get their attention, and it's like having a strong subject line, because you matter. And I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, I do matter. What is this? And
Yes.
I check it out. It's inexpensive. It's it feels integrated with the company and the messages, and so I think there's always a risk in L&D that training interventions can feel very unintegrated and external, and you can do this and make it really feel like just a part of the regular operations of the company, and it's super flexible, right? So like you can kind of, you don't have to like create necessarily like everything 3 months ahead and have to stick with it. You can create like a plan and release it, but you have a lot of room to modify it as well. So
you could just be a
and
week
it's
ahead.
and as Cass said, it's nice and visual, and you can have like a very kind of limit it, like have a really kind of simple message architecture of like a few kind of key messages that you're hitting people with.
Yeah. I think, well tied the brand in with the colors. I think I'd love to just expand on what Leonard was saying about that motivation piece and where it's because you matter. A lot of times when I see storyboards or coaching people, it's around like, because we matter, or we need to do this in here. But what you need to use is the language you, because you're speaking to the one individual that's looking or participating in the learning experience. And the power of you is so powerful in terms of accountability. So instead of using we or us, where you are speaking to that individual, use you instead for that accountability. Their interest peaks up from a motivation perspective as well. Nice work, Emily. Let's have a look at next. Oh, you got something to add?
Yeah, I just was going to say, what do you think about a solution like this without having a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group or going back to something? What do you think about that? Do you think there needs, just for the learners who are out there, and do you think it needs to have something else with it?
Well, my initial thing goes to the 70-20-10. This is 10, for formal learning. Social learning is the 20. So how are we engaging the social community, commentary, discussion, forums, all that. So obviously learning is more effective when it's there. So it wouldn't be that hard if you spent an hour setting up a Facebook group to support this initiative and drive people at the footer to that. And if you tackled that, you'd be getting huge kind of performance change as opposed to just an email series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree about that. And it would be stronger if it's sort of concluded with some sort of a call to action, like where there was, it was like building momentum to something else, like join the Facebook page, or even like if there was like a simple like survey question or something that they actually be really nice, like a really lightweight call to action that then could, say build on to.
It could even just be a like simple thing.
How are you feeling today? Like, scale of 1 to 10, and then you just click it.
And you wouldn't even need to click it necessarily. It could just be a visual on the bottom that's just going, how are you feeling? Little reflection activity. And then it's like, if you've rated 1 to 5, maybe look at doing these things. 6, 7, 8, do these things. 9 or 10, do these. And another thing I might just say, I think I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, another thing you could put on the footer is, we've given you like calm, rest, all these tips. Why not book something into your calendar now as a reminder in the future to take action on something that's resonated from this infographic? That's a very cheap, simple way to get action post this interruption.
Yeah.
Good question.
The sky's the limit though with these things. Is I love it. I love it as a mechanism to get people, to get information to people, and I think I'd love to see a group with it as well. But this is brilliant, really good.
Beautiful.
participant is Jayashree. She's a senior learning designer at Grid Synergy in Singapore. So let's have a look at what Jayashree submitted.
All right. So, well, Jayashree was listening because she has created a Facebook group. Imagine that. She's just put in her submission right after us talking about it.
They should talk to each other. They could work together.
Yeah, collaboration, ladies. She wants to use Canva, a tool that we've had mentioned a couple of times for visually appealing infographics. As an admin, the admin can basically post stuff and organize that Facebook group and decide on how posts appear. And then group members are able to click things like I'm done. I'm not a user of Facebook, so I'm not sure, but I have seen that in a few submissions where people can say, I'm done with this. And that's how you get group insights on the analytics side to see what people are actually interacting with and caring about. And that would drive future content. The great thing that she was recommending here is Facebook live sessions and webinars. And obviously that has discussion and in the moment kind of interaction. She wants to use quizzes. There's no coding experience required. And Facebook would use polls, comments, and discussions. And her emphasis is on the topics such as your rights, news, health, and events. And yeah, that's what we got from Jayashree. Well. Leonard, what are your thoughts?
I think that probably for the kind of company that I imagine LGBT.me to be, this could be really good because it's probably the kind of company where you're really bringing yourself, it's like you're working there because you care. And so, I think for maybe if you worked in, I don't know, like a law firm or something, like a kind of a top 5 law firm, then you probably don't want to like actually have your like well-being site linked with your Facebook. Like you just want all that stuff separate. But for this, actually, it probably could be really powerful because you feel like, people are really getting to know you. And so on that level, it could be like a really nice, smart move.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Kath?
Yep, I agree. I really like the idea of a Facebook page for an organization and that it's completely broken off. She's I should have flicked this before so we could have a look. She's highlighted here social learning. And what I love about this is the practitioner, if this was going to Jayashree and she was going to pitch on this and this was her pitch and she got it, yep, she can curate a lot of content, but she can then set them up with templates that they can curate content as an organization, but their learners would be curating their own content, or the group members would be curating their own content. So obviously this is set up in units, but I think just the general main board would be filled with just really interesting articles and fascinating things like that. So there is one thing that I'd say is, I don't know if it's on my screen, but I'm seeing lots of different colors of fonts here. And it may be on purpose, but I can see like a certain black and then a slightly lighter one here. So it's probably, and I'm nitpicking, which means that this is only because it's the pitch document that's going to the client. Just things like that to me. I really don't like it when someone pastes an email and I can see where they've literally pasted it because it's in a totally different format than the rest of the text. So that makes me think that things were pasted. However, I'm nitpicking. It at least is showing a great layout. She's got lots of slides here that are really going to let the LGBT me visualize how that Facebook page would work. So I think it was a really good solution. She's put a lot of time into this. So Well done. Really good.
Nice one.
Okay, so now we have Fakhar Imam, and he's an instructional designer at the University of Management and Technology. So let's see what he has submitted.
All right. Fakhar is promoting or proposing an iOS app and using Adobe XD. He wants to personalize it. So there's a login here where you say, you know, yeah, it's Kim and this is my email and stuff. And then it comes up with a personalized kind of experience. So you can see there it says, hello, Fakhar. And then basically everyone has a phone is what he's saying. And so you're basically going to where they are and not having to get them to go to others. He's got the mock-ups here. I think it's really nice that he's being able to demonstrate a couple of the screens. On the next slide, you'll see it on phones. And I love when you see mock-ups on what they're supposed to be presented on. So like here we have the phones, or if it's a poster, you see a visual of an actual like building with the wall and then the poster placed on it. So you're putting it in context to your solution. And then here we have things like, you know, you can see the stats and you can see use of icons, and he's driving people to different events. So yeah, what do you reckon, Kath?
So it looks really nice, Fakhar. I love that. I like the way it looks. It looks great. I think considering the last brief that we had was a $25,000 brief, and then this is a $5,000 brief. I'm not convinced, unfortunately, that this could be built within that kind of budget of 5,000 Australian dollars. To build an iOS app, or you know, even if you were building it in Glide, which is a free app, let's say, the amount of work that would have to go into that, I don't believe that this could be done within the budget. Aesthetically, it looks really nice. There's focus on things like health insurance, which I'm not sure is really health and well-being. But I can, you know, I certainly think it looks like it's got great navigation. It's got nice colors, nice iconography. So I just consider a little bit, I'd consider whether this could be done within the budget. I mean, what's your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I think that's what people need to be careful of with these briefs is like what is possible within the budgets. We are seeing people trying to really achieve things where I'm concerned, can you even do the analysis for your solution within the 5,000 for what you're proposing? So really consider that, because as a practitioner, whether that's you in-house or external as a consultant or freelancer, you know, what does that actually look like in how many days effort you need to do? Like 5,000 really is probably only a week's worth of work, if that. So really considering the effort that's going to go in. Does the content exist? Are you curating content? Now, there's a few things obviously based on assumption of the brief there, but try not to be too ambitious. And also the reason we have budget in there is to really make you think creatively around what is possible and what does actual learning look like when you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah. So it's a shame because it looks great. And if this had been submitted for the last project, which was $25,000, even though that might be still quite cheap for an app to be developed. I mean, I had quotes before for $65,000.
A cheap app.
No, but it just looks like it's fairly. They're not just click and reveals that are here. You know, this is bringing in stats and data from something. You know, you've got a booking app. These are things that are, they're
complex.
They're very complex, very complex. Even the login screen. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's my feedback. I mean, what do you think, Leonard?
I agree. I mean, I think Fakhar, I think that, you know, actually I should just say that often when you're working on these kind of projects, it depends on, you know, I mean, and you guys are like, have an agency or whatever, and so I don't want to be unfair, but often if you just hire like one developer and you know what you want, it can be a lot cheaper. Obviously that comes with bigger risks sometimes, and including like how you maintain the tool. But you know, if you just hire like one developer to do it, you can. So like Fakhar might honestly be able to do that himself, but dude, you need to be charging more money for what you do.
That's right.
Yeah. But I you know, I don't want to be. I'm just going to add like one really fussy point, and it's not actually just for him. It's for people in general, because I've seen this with some of the other projects, and I see this when I've judged for the Learning Technology Awards, and it comes up constantly. So please learn this. Like, understand how to make text readable. Some of this text is, most of this text is fine, but some of the paragraph text is too small for a mobile device. In general, the majority of your text should just be black on white text at like a decent size. So you want to aim for, if it's the whole length of the screen, I think about 10 to 12 words, you know, line length. It's really super simple, but there's a few rules about readability of text online, and it's what you want to get down. And also, so for example, not having, even though actually I think Fakhar was smart, so because he had an image in the background, but what he did to not interfere with readability is he made it like really muted. But in general, I just not do it at all. That would be my preference. But I guess he wanted to like make it visually interesting. He was trying to, I guess, navigate being visually interesting and having readability. But I would always just completely favor readability of text. So just, it's not really for Fakhar, but just a general statement, like be careful about that.
I think,
and I'd say, sorry,
you go,
Kim.
you go.
No, I was just going to say, it's really the only person who's going to get screwed in this is you, Fakhar, because you're going to give this to a client, and you know it's going to ultimately be your profit that this eats into. You know, something like this, the client's going to get a great deal. You're not going to get the great deal out of this, and you want this to be a profitable business for yourself. What I tend to do, when I'll just say one last thing. When I tend to do is when I design anything that's on a phone, just to support what Leonard's saying, I actually will look and see how big buttons are, for example, on my phone, and I will try and match it. Like, I'll even sometimes take a screenshot of my phone, and then I'll try and trace over it to give me an idea of good font sizes. And, you know, if I'm struggling a little bit, I'll go and look at, you know, Facebook, you know, for example, on the phone, because that's going to give you a really good indication of the sizing that things need to be and the readability. Sorry, Kim, go ahead.
No, that's right. I was just going to say, in terms of pricing, it's hard for us to make judgment on that because prices are relative across the globe. So I think Fakhar is in Pakistan, so, you know, hourly rates across the globe are very different. So it could be possible where he is, but in Australia, it's not. Even the difference between you're in London, Leonard, we're in Australia, like our currencies are so different. So there's that perspective.
If you're working for a London client, you could like quadruple that for sure.
Yeah, well, maybe that's it. Know your audience, because then you can charge more if you're an external agency. In terms of going back to Leonard's point in the font, like Google it, but I'm pretty sure it's something like 11 point if it's a Word document, and it's like 14 to 16 if it's on screen. So have a look at things like that from a readability perspective, because that is really important, especially, with people with glasses and not with glasses and different devices and how it adapts and all that sort of stuff. Cool. Let's move on. We got 2 more, I think.
Okay, so our next submission came from Tabatha, and she's an instructional designer. So let's see what Tabatha has submitted.
Okie dokie. This one, I think, good emphasis on instructional design. So what she's got is she's calling it again a theme, a campaign, which is working and living well. It's about having things like a mindfulness blog, healthy dining options within a 2-mile radius of the office, fresh fruit and veggies being delivered to the organization. She really wants to try and build community, so she's suggesting like a recipe book that staff actually present and their recipes into it to build that kind of like buy-in and chatter around the organization. She's promoting some infographics and having things like walking meetings going on. You can see here she's presented things on different devices, so I like that it's in context. She's trying to create a buzz, and also she's saying that each month for 12 months, this solution will be themed. Well, Leonard, I'll throw to you.
Well, I guess my first thought that I really liked was the emphasis on physical health, and because that's an absolutely key part of staying mentally healthy, and it's often an easier place to start, than like saying I'm gonna get counseling, or is to say I'm gonna stop like just eating junk food and having a completely sedentary lifestyle. So I think that's really nice. I like the idea of having a blog. I like the basic look and feel that I'm seeing.
Nice. Kath?
Yeah, I love hearing, especially for this, for health and well-being, just simple things like bringing in fruits and vegetables, walking meetings. There's actually a lot of things that we can implement in our workplace and change the culture in 2 seconds if we just make a decision within a business. It doesn't need to be a course. It doesn't need to be anything groundbreaking. And I think that certainly her solution with some of these recommendations are great. Again, I like these little visuals that she's put on the screen as well, just to give an idea of what she's trying to do. I mean, the each month would have a theme with an educational blog. So with the client wanting this to be handed over, I wonder what kind of strategy would be put in place to, whether that would have been putting templates together, actually planning this out in advance, because that's actually quite a lot of work for people who have not, they don't have a background in this. You end up then kind of getting subpar content because it's given to the receptionist or it's given to someone to do a task that, so I've liked where we've had solutions in the past that people have said, I've put a plan in place to support them for 9 months or 90 days or however long. So, but at least she's thinking about how this is going to change and it's not going to be the same. So good job, Tabatha.
You're coming at it from different angles.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right, let's get a look at the last one.
The last one is Simon, who's a freelance e-learning designer and developer. So let's check that one out.
All right, making a return by popular demand in the first brief is Glide Apps and Google Sheet. So Simon is saying, let's use the in-app chat, phone and text options. He wants to provide in the moment support. It's going mobile and it's a web-based solution. He wants to have things like top tips and signpost people to further services based on their needs. He's obviously used the color of the logo in his solution, and he wants to create it iteratively, which is an interesting. And I love that you can see on screen there, they've got like the notes. So you can actually, it's kind of like a journal, take notes based on what you've learned for your own personalized kind of records. So what do you reckon, Leonard?
One thing that I really like that he's done is the use of strong headings, so like, your safety, or especially you're not alone, like, so you're like, oh, okay. And it's really short. It, like it said, like you were saying, it's got the second person, it's got you in it, so it's personalized, it's relevant, and it's short, so it's scannable. So and it's simple. He's got 4 main areas. I think that often you can, with some of these projects, you can try to be saying too many things at the same time, but just having 4 kind of main themes is really good.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
simple with strong headings is always a really good start for a project like this.
Kath?
Yeah, well, my feelings on Glide apps. I really like it, especially the fact that someone can build the infrastructure, and then because it's built on a Google Sheet, Leonard, means the client can then make wording changes. More difficult if they don't have their head around the actual major structural changes to it. But certainly for updating words and phone numbers and things like that, it literally happens because it's a live document. It happens immediately. So I think Glide is great, and he hasn't talked about it, but so that you can get Glide apps for free, but you can whitelist it and only have so because he's talking about using the in-app chat feature, you might want to lock that down and actually whitelist it. So you can basically have access given to just people who are within your organization. Anyone else who tries to access it won't be able to access it. So I like it. I like his use color schemes. So it's easy for people to know where they're in. I'm not so sure about the warning sign logo. It's a bit bloody scary. Have you seen it? What is it? I think it's a game. But anyway, I'm just joking, yeah. But it is. Woo. Good job. Yeah, cool. I like it. I think Glide is the perfect kind of thing to do this, and you can also get data out of it, so you can work out what people are looking at. You can use Zapier to do different things. So yeah, really, really interesting.
Nice. Well, thank you to all the participants that submitted this round. Appreciating just the versatility, the new ideas, thinking outside the box has been achieved in brief too. I think that's pretty awesome. Leonard, what's something you're going to take away and think differently for your solutions that you're going to be working on? How are you going to do your MBA differently since you've had a look at today's show?
I think I'll probably, oh my gosh, I this sounds terrible, but I often, like, you learn a lot from the things that actually you end up saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, thinking about how one balances readability and visual interest is always a really tough thing. I mean, obviously you can go the other way and like make everything like super perfectly readable, but
yeah,
it becomes boring and like, there's not enough color, there's not enough shapes, and so you do have to create emphasis, and find one's own way in that in that place. I think that also, finding how and when to create activities, create, active engagement is always a big question. And I really liked I noticed the scenario based one they were using, like in interactive video, which is awesome. And I haven't done that yet, and I am really dreaming of doing it soon. We just need to create the time and space to do it, because I think it's so cool. And because I think it also creates engagement in the video. It's not just the value in itself of the activity, but it gets people, like, more into the video actually.
Good for that emotional stuff.
And actually, and I should add, I learned loads about, like, these authoring tools. There's just so many I had no idea about. I'm have to check some of these out. People are onto, like, so many cool tools and approaches. I really love the diversity of ideas that people had. That was really good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being being a guest on this episode of the show. You've really shared, like, I think there was a really rich discussion in this episode. So thank you, both of you. Hope you guys at home enjoyed as well.
We need to talk about voting.
Yep.
I'm with you, sister. Let's do it.
Let's go, girl. Voting.
All right. So we're going to basically put... You go ahead, Kim, if you want.
No, go on.
So I know this says episode 9, but we are going to be basically putting up a Google Docs form. So YouTube, those bastards, removed polling cards from the top of videos. So we unfortunately can't use that anymore. So we've tried to come up with a solution that is still fair. So we're going to put up a Google form underneath the video that you can basically jump in, and you'll be voting on whether you think the solution could be achieved within the budget. How would you rate the look and feel? So first impression, colors, fonts, and the navigation. And does the solution solve the client's problem? If you want a shortcut to the Milanote board, which has all of these solutions in PDF format, and you can go and you can, go and critically look at it with a fine-tooth comb, you can jump into that link and have a look. So that is going to be just in the notes under the video.
Awesome. Well, just to wrap up, if you're following this at home, you need to go check out that Milanote, that brief, because this is an excellent brief for building a portfolio piece, whether you're in-house or out-house. I don't even know what that's. Outhouse is like a jail, isn't it? Or a toilet or something. Anyway, if you're an in-house person, or if you're like a freelancer consultant person doing your own thing, it's a really, really realistic brief that you can achieve and demonstrate some great skills for your portfolio. So we do encourage you to actually go out and do that for yourselves. Thank you so much for watching the show. Thank you for all the love that you're giving it. Thank you for all the learning that you're investing yourself in, because you're actually watching this and hopefully taking action and applying things to your own solutions. We are appreciative of your support. We would love you to share it with anyone that will add value. If you want to learn things that we're talking about on the show, you need to check out the learningconference.online. LearningCon is going to be August 3rd, 4th, and 5th in your time zone. It's going to be epic. We really would love you to be a part of that journey. Thanks for watching, and until the next episode, be legendary.
Adios.